Welcome to Earth Mysteries. Today I'm taking on a journey to the Anglewick yew tree. All yew trees are sacred, but this one, as you're about to hear, is very special. So I arrived here on the equinox. We have equal day, equal night around the world, and decided that we would, with my friend, visit what is Runnymede or Anglewick, the yew tree that was so sacred to the Druids. And it's believed that it was here on an island that originally was surrounded by the River Thames that the Magna Carta was signed over 800 years ago. And it feels symbolic that the Magna Carta for Britain was really the Constitution of Britain, and it came about because the king at that time was not strong enough, and the tribes or the different groups said, we need to have a constitution. We can't just rely on you making the plans. And they all came together eventually to sign this treaty. And this seems to be so symbolic for now. We can't have one person or one group deciding what's right for the community or what's right for all. This seems to be a time for honesty, for integrity, for accountability, and to come together again, not just for individual countries, but nor also for a one world government, but more in humanity. Humanity in its diversity, not its unification, where we all have to be the same. And so I went there with this idea of how was that 800 years ago to be having that time where perhaps the king was being forced to sign this, but really saying we can't go on in this with these tribal wars. We can't go on creating poverty with one group because there's another war needing to happen and we're going to steal all the money. Now, that continued to happen, I have to say, for hundreds of years, and probably is still happening now. But the fact of the matter is, I went there because this idea of the equinox being such a powerful time, a portal into a new world, a new way of being, felt really important to go there. And with my friend, we went out and we walked along the beautiful meadows by the side of the Thames. And there's been a lot of rain in Britain, and certainly the Thames is running very high, but the daffodils were there and the blossoms were there, a few snowdrops, and it felt as if the land was reclaiming itself in many ways. Beautiful willow trees. And as we came to the yew tree, I realized how much the yew trees had meant to Britain and the world, in fact. And I understand that you could go back almost 140 million years and find not particularly a yew tree, but something that was its ancestor all that time back. And yew trees are said to be able to survive for thousands of years. Some have been seen to survive for 4,500 years. And they have this ability to create a new trunk by the branches laying on the ground. So as soon as this rather heavy branch lays on the ground, there is this regenerative cycle. And so they're seen for their birth and death, or the regeneration after death. So many of them are found within churches, or churchyards here, I should say, in Britain and around the world. And the Druids, who were the ancient people, connected to the Celts, were very much the Druid tradition, often would surround a church with, or a temple or a sacred place, with yew trees, that idea of regeneration. And that really was the reason they were often found in churches, the idea of sometimes people would bury their loved ones with a yew branch, hoping for that regeneration. Interestingly, yew trees in their own right are poisonous, and almost every part of it is poisonous. And therefore yew trees and yew bushes were often used to keep animals in in a certain place without the need for fencing, because the animals knew not to eat the yew tree for its own, because of its poisonous abilities. Therefore, it was a good way of fencing something in. It has been used, some of the extract from it has been used as an anti-cancer property, and fairly successfully. But that's in more recent times. But the idea that you've got something that is about death and rebirth that is actually quite poisonous to humans and to animals is a kind of an oxymoron here, because you would feel that there's something very life-giving. But I think that when I went to see this beautiful tree, and it is a magnificent one, there are images here, you'll understand that there's something so ancient about these trees. And I can believe that this was a place where the Druids saw great sacredness and would honour the fact that something that was going to be created for prosperity, for generations to come, should be something that symbolises death and rebirth, regeneration. And I think that's what we all need at this time, this idea of something very important that will continue on. Just another little tidbit here, that this particular yew tree is said to have been one where Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn were court while he was married to someone else. Not sure that actually did her any favours, but there we go. So this was my first introduction into Britain again, and my honouring of the equinox, and being with these trees that said things will go on, something will continue, and to trust that process. But sometimes we have to die to the old for something new to be born.